All right, hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I had been working on a kind of gear and parts related channel to go alongside Matt's channel for a while. A lot of you were probably already subscribed to that one, and so I appreciate you moving over to this one if that's the case for you. But I ended up breaking my leg at the racetrack, and that is one of the things that kind of fell by the wayside while I was recovering, and I just never got back into it because we were taking trips, and there's just been a lot of stuff going on at the dealership. But I still really wanted to create that kind of content, and so that's what I'm starting up again. And the first video that I wanted to do was a look at Harley's new Flex layered system. The reason I wanted to take a look at it is because we've been taking a lot of trips lately that have had a lot of different environmental conditions, a lot of different weather patterns in the middle of our trips, from rain to pretty extreme heat. And having a layered gear system in your arsenal basically is a very crucial way of staying both comfortable, having a good time, because if you're uncomfortable, you're not going to be having a good time, and staying safe because it's going to let you maintain focus on what you're doing, because if you're uncomfortable, you're probably going to be distracted and or more fatigued than you would otherwise be. And so the first thing that we're going to be looking at today is, out of two items that we're going to be looking at, is Harley's armored base layer. And first I'm just going to go over what it is. It is a very lightweight material with mesh panels designed to help maintain your temperature, that has integrated D3O armor in it at the elbows, shoulders, chest, and back. It's designed to be worn underneath your jacket, your outer layer, something abrasion resistance like a leather or textile motorcycle riding jacket. And it's designed to basically provide armor that maybe that jacket doesn't have, or that maybe you've removed so that you can utilize this, because the armor in this is probably going to be more comfortable and nicer than whatever came with your jacket, unless you bought something that came with D3O. But D3O is kind of the industry leader in super comfortable armor. And so for someone who's a tourer or a cruiser, or maybe a commuter who's really prioritizing comfort over maybe the absolute most maximum level of protection, this kind of base layer is really nice. And so we're gonna get into why this is nicer than maybe having the same type of armor but integrated into your outer shell. First and foremost, a lot of us have multiple jackets, and so having one really nice kit of armor that you can wear underneath all of your jackets, so you're not wed to maybe only your newest, nicest jacket that has the newest, nicest armor in it, means that you can kind of move between different jackets. You can wear one that has no ventilation in the winter and still have your armor, and then you can move to one that has a lot of ventilation later on and still have your armor. In addition, the D3 armor, like I mentioned, is extremely comfortable. The reason for that is that it's super flexible compared to normal armor. So this is D3O armor. This is what they call C-Flex armor. This is a Revit designed armor out of the collaborating jackets that Harley designed with Revit for their adventure bikes. So I have this armor in my grit jacket that I wear, and you've seen me wear on a variety of rides with Matt. It's really good armor. It's CE level 2 for a dirt jacket like what I'm wearing. When I'm crashing in the dirt, I know that if I put my elbow out and I hit a rock or something like that, this is going to do a really good job of keeping me safe. But it's not super flexible. Revit did make it see-through, which is nice, but it's not that flexible. It's quite thick and bulky, and you definitely feel it in your jacket. In fact, Andrew ripped this out of his Revit jacket because he found it to be too cumbersome. On the flip side, we've got D3O, and the reason I say this is so much better for commuting is because it's so flexible. It's designed to basically be very malleable when you're applying slow speed stuff to it, but if you apply a lot of energy to it real fast, what it's going to do is it actually gets more rigid. I don't know how it achieves that. I'm not a material scientist who could probably do a better job of explaining how that works. All I know is it's some of the most comfortable armor on the market because of how well it forms to whatever it's up against. So a back protector, instead of being kind of rigid and awkward like a lot of back protectors are when they're made out of foam or something more rigid than this, this is going to be able to follow the contours of your back a lot nicer and keep you more comfortable on longer rides, but still provide you with some really nice safety. So the armor in this is really high quality, it's really extensive, and it's extremely comfortable, and that's why this is such a good base layer. When it comes to fit, there's a couple things I would consider when you're buying a base layer. A base layer, especially one that has integrated armor like this, you're gonna want it to be relatively snug. It's designed to have a fair bit of elasticity to it, so it should never really be too restricting of your movement, even if you buy a slightly snug version of it. But you kind of want that snugness because you want the armor to stay in place. You don't want it to be moving around. You're also planning to probably put layers on top of this, and if you have a bunch of loose layers, it starts to feel really, really cumbersome. So having your base layer be pretty snug and then buying a slightly looser, outer shell is going to give you that comfort on longer rides. Doing that in reverse and having something loose and then putting something tight over it, it's just not optimal. So when you try this on at the dealership or if you're ordering online, just keep in mind that you do want it to fit relatively snugly. You don't want it to be super tight that is going to restrict your movement or cause pinch points or make it uncomfortable, but you also don't want it loose because in order to do its job, the armor needs to stay in place. And so having it be form-fitting is optimal. And the jacket itself is cut to be non-restrictive. It's got a very low neckline, so it shouldn't be interfering with your other pieces in your collection, and that's going to keep you able to do shoulder checks without having to worry about your helmet snagging on a whole bunch of thick stuff around your collar. No, I hate feeling like the Michelin Man on my bike all bundled up, when it's really cold. I've got so many layers on. I just feel like restricted. It's not my favorite thing. And picking pieces that have nice low collars helps to reduce the feeling of wearing so many layers. So this right here is the second piece that I wanted to talk about in Harley's flex layering system. Now there's a number of other pieces. There's, in addition to this mid layer, there's another mid layer that's more of a filled mid layer with an insulating material. This is not really designed like that. This is kind of a fleece lined windproof mid layer, but I really like this because I find it to be more impactful than what you might expect. I think we look at the big puffy jackets and we go, okay, that's going to keep in a lot of warmth, and they do, they're effective. But if your outer layer is not particularly windproof, then even if you have that big puffy jacket, the wind's going to cut through it and it's going to cool you down faster than you might expect. Whereas something that's windproof like this does an extremely good job of insulating, especially if you've got another layer underneath it that's a good or relatively good base layer for insulating. For example, if you wear a merino wool base layer underneath this and you've got the armored layer and you put this on top and then you have another shell there, you're going to be extremely comfortable even in very cold weather. I have a very similar material hoodie from one of my other Harley jackets that I've actually ripped out of that jacket and wear underneath my Grit adventure jacket, and it's incredible how much warmth it provides despite seeming so thin. And that's because it just cuts the wind, and the wind is really what's going to be making you cold on these kinds of rides. So having a wind protection option like this in your bag at all times is really, really nice. If you're heading to the hotel and the sun goes down and the temperature starts to drop because you're in the desert or you're in the mountains, being able to pull over, take this out, throw it on real quick and hop back on the road, it's going to keep you much more comfortable, and you're just going to really appreciate having this in your bag. In addition to obviously doing its job and providing wind protection, it packs down really, really tightly into its own integrated bag that has a drawstring cinch mechanism, so you can really pack it down tightly and throw it in your saddlebag and only pull it out when you need it. That's kind of simple quality of life things I like to see from pieces like this. It's just really well thought out. Just like we saw in the armor, you've got a nice low cut collar of a very soft material. It's not going to be overly, thick near where your helmet meets your jacket. You've got nice soft cuffs here that shouldn't be too much of a problem with most glove types, which is another thoughtful thing. Oftentimes I see really, really thick, cumbersome cuffs on things or a zipper on the cuff, and it just has a tendency to not be comfortable unless you're using a gauntlet, and I don't really always like gauntlets, so this is just a really versatile cuff design. It's stretchy enough to go over a mid-length glove, but it's also going to be form-fitting enough to allow a gauntlet to go over it. So it's just, I think, a really well thought out design. I also really just like the aesthetics of it. It's really clean, simple. It's going to look good on and off the bike, which is not something that's always true of motorcycle gear, unfortunately. It wouldn't look out of place at your dinner once you've gotten to your destination. So just a really, really useful thing, and oftentimes overlooked. I see people spend a lot of money on really nice, bulky leather jackets, only to still feel cold because they've skipped one of the more important items, like a windproof mid layer. And so highly recommend adding something like this to your items that you have for your riding gear. So hopefully you enjoyed that look at these two products. I hope that Harley continues to expand their flex layering system. They do have some obviously outerwear as well, but in all honesty, most jackets will work well with this. That's part of why I think it's such an aptly named product. You know, it's a very flexible system. For example, I have really no use for the armored setup. My jacket has very, very high quality integrated armor. And I'm willing to make the compromise on comfort to get that additional level of protection. Plus I wear an airbag for the most part, which means that that armor system is just not gonna integrate well with my airbag. But on the other hand, this is something I would love. I don't like that my windbreaker or my windproof jacket has a hoodie on it. It's just annoying. It oftentimes gets caught around my collar. It wants to fill up with air even though I have a windshield. And so this would solve a lot of my problems, and it's why I'm probably gonna buy one of these next time I have some money. So I think that, like I said, the Flex name is just, I think, really apt for this. It's something that you might not want every single piece from, but you could definitely integrate and incorporate a few of the pieces into your riding gear, and it's going to make you more comfortable. It's going to keep you probably a little bit safer, and it's going to make your ride more enjoyable because you're going to be thinking less about how you feel and more about what you're doing. All right, so I appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this quick look at these two new pieces from Harley's Flex system. I really want to start pumping out a lot of content on this channel. I'm interested in doing stuff like this. I want to take a closer look at some parts and accessories items. I even want to take a look at things like detailing products that we sell here at the dealership, because there's stuff that I've spent a lot of time using now, and I think that I could provide maybe a little bit of insight on that. If there's some product that you really want me to take a look at and kind of give you my initial thoughts about, and we have it in stock, throw it down in the comment section here. It really helps me. I have a number of ideas of things I want to record. I'm sure that sooner or later I'm gonna be running out of ideas, so I would greatly appreciate any input and suggestions that you guys have. Not to mention too that, you know, this channel is really for you guys to be able to enjoy and learn about stuff that interests you. So if there's something you want me to talk about, even if it's not specifically about a certain product, like if you want to learn or you want me to do some research on the difference in different types of helmets, safety standards, all that kind of stuff, I'd love to do some deeper dives into stuff like that. And these are things that we can't really do on Matt's channel for a variety of reasons. The content there kind of has its own niche and its own direction. There's a little bit more freedom on this channel to do things that maybe are smaller, shorter, or just maybe not as Harley focused. So go ahead and throw down any suggestions you have in the comment section, and I'll see if I can, make it happen. Anyways, I appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for subscribing if you did. If you didn't, please do, and hit the notification bell so you know when I finally get around to uploading a new video. Anyways, thanks for tuning in.